There is a spiritual law which is entitled the Law of Spiritual Individual Growth. Every human being who comes into this world is under that law. The very act of entering this world places you under the law, which means the law of spiritual growth means that we are put here to do something different with our level, to raise it, to be a different kind of human being inwardly in our maturity than we were when we were young and immature. This law is for humanity's benefit. It's for your benefit. Now, you know what the word benefit means. The word benefit means it's good for you. Not harmful, but something that is on your side. The very fact that it is good for a human being, for an individual, does not mean that he understands that it is, or that he wants it in his life. To the contrary. Because human beings are undeveloped in their minds, because they're often petty, misunderstanding, live under fabulous delusions, because this is their state, then the law of spiritual growth has no meaning to them. So as a very elementary lesson, you must understand that this law of inner development exists, whether you know it does or not, whether you want it or not, whether you think about it or care about it or not. The law exists. Now this means that you're going to have to do one of two things with it. Continue to ignore it, or begin to try to understand what it means and how it affects your life. And that is the greatest single decision any of you will ever make in your life. Because if you ignore the law, as we will see as we proceed, if you resist it, if you want nothing to do with it, then you have made your decision as to what direction you're going to go in. Because the law of growth says you go upward. If you refuse the strength behind it, then what's the opposite of going up? It's simply going down. It makes no difference how a person appears in the exterior world. And you look out and you see all these so-called successful people, people in high places, women, men who appear to have it made, who are popular with their neighbors at least, or popular with the world. They can appear to be on a very high plateau in life, and inwardly they have nothing at all, which is with almost everyone. But I'm talking to you here tonight, whoever you might be. And I'm telling you that this law of development, which can change you, which can make you new, is extremely unpopular with two things. It's the least liked law in the world. All of humanity rejects it, doesn't want to hear about it, wants nothing to do with what it requires of them. But I'm talking to you now, not about humanity in general, to you as individuals. This principle of self-development through self-effort is extremely unpopular with you. And the evidence of that is quite clear, because you don't know what it is really. I'm just beginning to explain it to you, perhaps for the first time in your life. You have never had the incentive up till now to look into it for yourself. But you've come here, and you've said to one extent or another, I'm not satisfied with my life as it is. And I'd like to hear about anything, any power outside of myself that could change it, which is what we're talking about. You must remember that your nature, as it now is, with its earthly ties and its material connections, does not want to even hear what we're talking about. All of society doesn't want it. And that also is evident because society has gone wild because the individual has gone wild. If this law could be investigated by human beings, every department of life would change. There would be no more financial insecurity in the world. There'd be true religion that would help people to find God, find reality. The educational system would be set up so that children are really cared for in the right way, so that their spirits are taught as well as their mind. Governments would run smoothly. There'd be no competition, no barriers between two different parties, political parties. Everything would run naturally and smoothly. What we're saying, that if people would understand the law and put themselves under it, then human beings would be happy. Since they're not happy, it means they either don't know about the law or they want nothing to do with it, having heard of it, perhaps. Now, you're going to hear about it in some detail here tonight. So you will have to make the decision as to whether you want to understand it more, want to put it into operation, so that it puts you through drastic self-changes, inner changes. Now you're not changing. The only challenges the average human being has is how much he can get from the other person, where he can score an ego victory. This is the only challenge he has, and it's the familiar pattern of riding the merry-go-round, not wanting to get off because the ride seems so exciting. And yet you go in a circle, and somehow don't you sense that you're not going anywhere with your life. Tonight, you will learn how to submit yourself to the purpose for which you were put here on earth, which is to submit your intellect, submit it to something higher that can train not only it, but your spirit, so that you change the kind of a human being you are, but not in any way as you now understand what that means. Because all you know is your pain. All you know is your confusion. All you know is your desperate wishing that someone else will make the decision for you. That is right, isn't it? You look around now looking for someone who is stronger than you are. You're not going to find him or her on your own level. Look where we're at then. We're at the point where you personally, each one of you listening to this, you are responsible for your own development. You're responsible for starting somewhere. And the start is investigation, a higher kind of curiosity, and most of all, a very, very strong awareness that something is wrong with you that you no longer want to tolerate. So in brief, so far, that's the principle. You are under this law whether you want it or not, whether you like it or not. Understand that it is for you, not against you. Now, you're not following too much of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about principles that are much higher than the words that explain them. I'm talking about a personal experience that you will know only after you've gone through it. Only after you've said to yourself, regardless of where it takes me, I'm going to follow this rule, this principle, to see what happens to me as a result of it. Because you have first said, it couldn't get any worse than it is now. I'll tell you, it can get worse because you're still here. You're still on this earth. And you have an opportunity to change directions. Even right now, as you are listening to me talk, the opportunity is right in front of you. And you don't have to understand what I'm talking about, which you don't. because you don't understand anything spiritual at all. You think you do, and you talk about religious things, and you think that talking about them is understanding them. You can begin to understand and be in charge of everything that we've talked about tonight. Let me give you a little illustration that shows you how and where mankind has gone wrong, including everyone here now. Do you see how this applies to you? Imagine a vast farmland, vast fields of vegetables and fruit trees, 100 miles or so, with farmers attending them. And surrounding this farmland is a very dark, fierce jungle. The farmers take over the land and they plant their seeds and trees and tend them for a while. That is, the peril to that is you and I entering this world and told how to develop. You see the parallel? They're developing their gardens just as we're going to develop our life. So it goes on for a while. And out of this jungle, eventually there comes a vine, a malicious vine. First it just creeps a bit out of the jungle and starts toward the farmlands. And people, as they walk around their business, the farmers, as they take care of their fields, they notice it somewhat. But they don't pay much attention to it, and let me tell you why. As this choking vine creeps closer and closer to their lands, the reason they don't notice it is because it has pretty flowers on it. Pretty yellow flowers, pretty orange flowers, varied colors on it. And the vine itself looks very innocent. There it is, moving very, very slowly along the ground, green, pretty leaves on it. Nobody sees anything to be alarmed about. It creeps closer and closer and closer. Finally, one of the farmers, out of the 200 or 300, one of them looks at it and he notices something that the others didn't notice. And what he sees is that this choking vine is heading straight for his vegetables. He keeps an eye on it. Something in him gives him a warning signal. He says, "What's this? I'm going to watch that. I'm going to see what this strange-looking vine is that appears so innocent, but after all, it came out of that dark jungle. And anything that comes out of that jungle can't be good. It can't have anything to do with the light." So he watches it for quite a while, and his suspicions are proven true. The vine goes closer and closer to his vegetables. Finally, his knowledge puts him into right action. Follow the parallel in your life. You know what I'm talking about. As the vine gets closer to his crops, he gets rid of it. He gets his tools out, digs out where it's caught into the ground, digs it out, throws it back, gets it out, so that it can't affect him anymore. He's safe. He's safe because he was alert, awake to what the vine was all about. It's nature, and he caught it in time. Most people will not catch it in time, and if you listen to me, you can. So the vine, which is enormously persistent, comes out of the jungle again, starts fresh, starts all over. And this time, because it has a certain fearful memory of what happened to it when it went toward that one farmer's land, it heads in the direction of another farmer. And it spreads just 2 or 3, 4 or 5, several acres and several fields. And the farmer is a good man. You know why he's a good man? Because he has knowledge of evil vines. And he knows that simple goodness requires that it be put out of the fields. So he runs around to the neighboring farmers and he tells them what's happening. And they look at him and they say, "Thank you, I'm busy just now." And they close the door and he goes home. He knows, and you should know, which we'll get into a little bit later, that he has discharged his responsibility. Having understood, he told other people, he told the other farmers what that plant was doing, and their reaction was their own responsibility. I'll jump ahead a little bit. It is a beautiful condition of your life when you know that you have simply done what is right. Now you know what is right. You sense it, but you won't do it because you're afraid. You're afraid of getting the door slammed in your face. Those people you're trying to tell them about something very insidious that's coming out of that jungle. But back to the illustration. Whose responsibility would you say it is if and when the other farmers' crops are overrun by the vine? You know the answer to that. Have you ever tried to help some other human being in just a small way? Perhaps a son or daughter who's grown up a little bit, or a friend that you saw was heading downhill. Have you ever tried to give them a little advice and saw that they weren't capable of taking it, of listening to you? If you maintained any sense of sorrow toward anyone that you have told what is right who rejected it, if you have maintained any sense of sorrow, there's something wrong with you. Now let me tell you a little bit more about this law of individual spiritual development within. If you will follow it, if you will put yourself under it and let it teach you, a most beautiful, freedomizing, liberating, happy, releasing experience will come to you. And here's what it is. Just now, you are tied to other people. You have guilt toward them. You've been told that you don't do enough for other people, that you're selfish, that you should give more to them. Or in the past, you've had experiences where you felt that you failed people, that you should have done more for them. And now when you're asked to do something or give something, you're in conflict over it. One part of you wants to do something that is requested of you and another part doesn't. I want to tell you something that is authentic spiritual magic, using magic in the right word, the right terms. You will develop a silent voice within you, which is an attitude which will speak to every human being that you meet, stranger, wife, husband, child, parents. You will develop a silent voice that will send a right message to everyone you meet. Now, I want to tell you in some detail what this message is. Now, understand, this is not the voice coming from your past. It's not coming from what you call your own personal nature. It is the voice that arises in you as a result of your obeying the spiritual law of individualistic personal development. And this voice, while first silent, can, wherever it comes out proper to do so, can speak with your tongue, with your mouth, with words to other people. And when you speak this message, which I'll give to you in a minute, when you utter it, you will have the heaven within of knowing that it is 100% true and right. That it is good and necessary for you to say it, because you yourself have gone through many, many things. You have seen the danger of that choking vine, and you know it has no place in your life, the choking vine being the evil of the world, the darkness of the world. Anything that is wrong in your life comes from the jungle, and you've seen the wrongness of it. Here it is. The very fact that you have it is your peace of mind toward anyone. You say to the world, dear sir, you are responsible for your own life. The only thing I have to give you, and the only thing I will give you, is knowledge of the law of your personal growth. I have nothing else to give you, and I won't. I'm not going to do anything that is going to obstruct your personal growth and development, knowledge, wisdom, into becoming a higher kind of human being. As a matter of fact, I can't give you anything but this knowledge that I have acquired through long, hard work on myself. I must give that to you. I can't fail to give it to you because it's a pleasure for me, because I really know in my heart what it has done for me. Now, sir or madam, as the case may be, I know that you don't want what I'm telling you about. I know that there's a part in you, a large part in you, just as there used to be in me, that rejects us utterly, and you're not even half listening to what I'm telling you, because you're closing your ears to this, just as I did for many foolish years. But I'm telling you that this law of responsibility for your own life, of inner development, is a beautiful law. It can help you. It can take away your rambling of getting into one trouble after another. And you're going to repeat your trouble increasingly if you don't listen to what I'm telling you, because you're not listening to me. You're listening to truth itself. Now, sir or madam, someone very close to you, you're talking to them now, either out loud or by your attitude, and your attitudes can talk very eloquently at times, can't they? Sir, it isn't going to do you any good to flatter me in order to get something else from me. I told you, I have nothing to give you except the bit of truth that I have learned. And I am not going to give you anything if I have $1 million. I'm not going to give you 5 of it. I know what you need. You don't any more than I knew what I needed many, many years ago. So flattering me or trying to please me isn't going to work. Not anymore. Appealing to my sense of sentimentality, that won't work either. Trying to make me feel guilty, you're wasting your time, utterly wasting your time. See, the reason you can say this is because you've become so wise toward human nature. You've looked at it through the eyes of your own experience with your own human nature, right? And there's no hardness in your speaking, in your attitude at all. It is utterly innocent. You're not even trying to force anything on them, because you know that's not your responsibility. But you're telling another person, look, under the law of your personal development, you must do it for yourself. There's nothing I can do for you. There's nothing I ever could do for you except tell you about something higher than yourself that can do it for you, just as it happened with me. And dear sir, I am not going to be so evil, so immoral, so cruel as to deny you the opportunity to find yourself in this life. The world is ruined by people who give things to other people. I told you about the law. It is absolute. It is strict. The decision is up to every individual. Now, there is a certain toughness that is 100%, which is not cruel at all, but which gives every human being, and you must give it to them as you learn the truth, which must give them the opportunity to make their choice. Now look, you want commoner language. Now connect what I'm going to say, please, with spirituality, not just with social affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it before, but I want you to see it in a much higher light, because it's just as true way up there in spiritual matters as down here in society. There is no free ride. And anyone who offers you a free ride is your spiritual enemy. Anyone who tells you all you have to do is just say the word I believe is your enemy. He is denying you your spirit's chance for eternity, and he doesn't know it, and you don't know it, but I know it, and I'm telling you that it's a fact. Someone who really cares for you, that is someone who's talking to you an authentic spirit of truth. That person is simply expressing a love that is higher than the individual himself, and that love says, grow, develop, find yourself, and start now. Start today. And that's what I say to you right now. Start now and let the law prove for itself what it can do for you, and it will indeed prove by giving you a rich life.